Unacademy. Let's crack it.
Okay, so let's get started. So in this session, we would mainly be solving problems that have been asked in interviews of good product-based companies. Okay, so I'd be targeting these companies specifically. Okay, the FANG companies, and we'd be solving questions that have been asked in some other good companies as well, like Uber, Nutanix. Okay, and Sprinkler, all of these companies as well. But our main target would be these companies only. Okay. So the agenda you guys already know, and to give you an idea about how this session would be, so this session would be quite similar to how you people would be having your actual interviews at product-based companies. So I'd be giving you out a problem, okay, and most of the problems would be having a follow-up problem. So the first problem would be an easy problem, and the next problem would be that problem only, but it would be harder and slightly different than the base problem. Okay, so that we call as follow-up. So, and I'd give you time to think, and then we would discuss over the solution as well as all of the approaches that are possible for that question. Okay, so I hope the agenda is clear. So for those of you who are watching my videos for the first time, so my name is Anuj Kumar Singh. I've been doing competitive programming for 3 to 4 years. Okay, I'm a candidate master on Codeforces and a 5-star rated coder on Coursera. And I've interned at Google and HackerRank, and I have full-time offer from both of them. And I have also have cracked offers at other product-based companies like Uber. Okay, so in this session, mainly we would be discussing the interview problems as well as those problems which are asked in online rounds of companies. Okay, so let's get started. So before starting the session, let me quickly tell you about the batches that are going on at Unacademy. So the first is the user batch, which is a batch for to go from an intermediate to an advanced coder, and it is a 6-month batch. The second batch is a Lakshya batch, okay, which is in which you would be mainly learning competitive programming. And the third batch is the Dona batch, which is a batch for people who want to learn Python. You can see the dates at which these batches go live over here. Okay. So apart from the Dona batch, all of the batches have gone live. But if you still take the subscription, you would be able to get access to the pre-recorded lectures. Okay, so apart from this, an academy has also started preparing students for software engineering now. So system design, computer fundamentals like operating system, database management, and computer networks are also taught. And apart from this, front end development, back end development, full stack development, everything would be taught to you guys. Okay. So if you plan on joining these batches, all of these batches actually have already gone live. Okay, on I think 21st of June, most of them have gone live, and system design and computer fundamentals are 2-month batches, and backend and full stack development are 4-month batches. Okay, so at an academy, if you take the subscription of the competitive programming category, you would get access to the content by all of our educators, and this would help you get good ranks in ACM, ICPC, Google Kickstart, Google CodeGem, and as well as help you to crack interviews at top product-based companies. Okay, and you will also be getting a certification. So there would be live interactive classes as I told you, and we would be solving problems on every topic. Okay, so it would be a problem solving. Most of the session would be having problems along with the theory. Okay, so we won't just be doing theory, and we'd be solving problems from Coursera code sources as well as doubt support would be there. So whenever you are stuck, you could reach out to the people and get your doubts cleared. Okay. So the original price of the course is actually 33,000. Okay, but if you use my code ANUJK10 ANUJK10, then you'd get a discount of 10%. That is 3.3k off, and this would cost you around 29,700. Okay, if you plan to buy the subscription, then I would suggest you to go for the 12-month subscription since it is the most cost-efficient subscription. Okay. Apart from this, if you take the 6-month or the 12-month subscription, you would get a no-cost EMI option also for payment. Okay. So that's all about the batches. If you plan on joining taking the plus subscription for an academy, then you can use my code ANUJK10 to get a 10% off. Okay, so that's all about the batches that are going on. Now let's get started with the problem straight away. Sticker has a if you focus more on question, are you mentioning it is small because this question hard. Okay, yeah. See, I have around, let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have around 13 questions that I plan to solve over this. The first question is very easy. Okay. The second question, third question are easy. The fourth question is easy, and the rest of them are very hard. Okay. So they are that hard that if you get them in your online rounds, I'm damn sure if you haven't like practiced a lot of problems, you won't be able to solve them. Okay, so the problem that we would be solving are of good enough difficulty. Okay, so don't worry about that. See, we would be see when once I'm done discussing the first 3-4 problems, then you would be able to actually get the idea of the difficulty. Okay, so don't worry about that. So first question is, so we would be going increasing order of difficulty. First question would be easy, second question would be harder, third question would be hard. First would be easy, second would be so first would be very easy, second would be easy, third would be medium, fourth would be hard. Okay, and after that all of the questions would be hard. Okay, hard in the sense that if you try to give ratings on code forces, so they would be of difficulty around 1700 to 1900 on code forces, and if you try to see the difficulty on lead code, they would be lead code hard problems. Okay, so first question is very easy question. This I have just given to so that you guys just like your brain cells open and you guys start thinking. Okay, so you are given a string s and you are given a string t. Okay, and so these are strings. Okay, so the length of s and is less than equal to 10 to the power 3, and length of t is less than equal to 10 to the power 3. Okay, and you need to tell if any permutation of t is present as subsequence in S. So this is the question. Okay, so this is the question. Like, just tell me if the question is clear to you guys. These are the constraints. Okay, and this is the problem statement. You are given two strings. Let us denote the first string by S, the second string by T, and the length of the strings are actually bounded by 10 to the power 3. Okay, and you need to tell if there is any permutation of T which is present as a subsequence in S. Okay, so this is the easiest problem that we are going to solve in this session. I try thinking of a solution to this problem. Since this is an easy problem, I would be giving you around 1 or 2 minutes max to think of a solution to this. I am not actually writing out the sample test cases because they would serve as a hint and you would be able to solve the problem very easily. Correct, Shekhar? So this is a very easy problem. I think most of you would be able to solve it even if you just try out 1 or 2 sample test cases. And like if it is asked in your coding round, I think you should be able to do the implementation as well as think the logic in max 1 or 2 minutes. Correct, we are. So I only got 2 solutions till now. Correct, Sandeep. Okay, so 30 seconds more. I think this is an easy problem and you guys should be able to solve it. Okay, so see, for those of you who were not able to solve it, so it is suppose S is something like this: A B C D, A B C D Z Z E, and T is something like this. Let us say C L M O N. Okay, then since you are considering any permutation, so what you need to do is only check if all of the characters in T are actually present in S or not. This is the only thing that you need to do. Okay, so I hope the solution is clear to you guys. Okay, see, says let us say that some character was found here, then some character was found here, then some character was found here, then some character was found here. Okay, so you can just this would also be a subsequence of T only, right? So you just need to check whether all characters in T are actually present in S or not. So just give a thumbs up if this is clear to you guys. Actually, this is a very easy problem. Okay. So let's move on to a slightly harder problem. I say, according to interviews, it is a medium problem if you actually know the concept behind it. Okay. So Q seems a bit boiled down to some. Yeah. Okay. So see, the problem is that so there are, let us say, okay. So there are n number of. Okay. So suppose there is some city. Okay, in which time is from 1 to n. Okay, so this is first minute, this is second minute, third minute, fourth minute, fifth minute, till nth minute. Okay, and in this city, you are the man, you are having a company, and you are the, let us say, event organizer of your company. Okay, and there is an very big event that is scheduled for tomorrow. Okay, and you are actually given the start point, that is the starting minute and the ending minute of each of the intervals, or each of the events. So actually there are n events, and you are given the start point and end point of all of the intervals. Okay, and you need to tell what is the minimum number of rooms you need to organize all of the events. Okay, so if you want an example, so suppose for event 1, start time is from 3 to 5. Okay, and from event 2, start time is from 3 to 7. Okay, so suppose you had some room, let this be the first room. Okay, and you organized event from 3 to 5 till here. Okay, you can't organize the next event also in this room only, since they are actually overlapping, right? So you need to take another room for this event. Okay, so here the minimum number of rooms is 2. So just tell me if the question is clear to you guys. Correct, Vijay? Okay, so try thinking of a solution. This is, I would rate it as a easy medium problem, and I think you guys should be able to solve it in around 2 to 5 minutes max. I mean, by solving, I mean find the logic and code it out. Okay, so Ayush, what would we do after finding sorting on the basis of start time? So yeah, let me tell the constraints. Okay, so I would give you the original constraints only. So let us say n is of the order 1 to 10 to the power 5. Okay, and Si comma Ei are also of the order 10 to the power 5. Okay, and obviously Si is actually less than equal to Ei, and we also know that Si and Ei also less than. Okay, so this is the constraints. Okay, so I hope the constraints are clear. If n time of 1 is okay, so what would be the time complexity of your approach, Piyush? N after short. Okay, so there are actually like, and like, how would you find the minimum number of rooms? Okay, so any more solutions that you guys have? Actually, this is an easy problem. Can we take min of start time and max of ending time for all the intervals? PV, what do you mean by min of start time and max of ending time of all of the intervals? How will that help you? Okay, so like, let me tell you the brute force approach first. Okay, so suppose I make an array of size 10 to the power 5. Okay, so from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 to the power 5. Okay, then there is an event that is going from 3 to 5. So I just, like, all of the array values are initially 0. So I just increment the values by 1. So all these values became 1. Okay, then the second event is actually going from 3 to 7. So I would increment the values from 3 to 7 again. So it would become 2, it would become 2, it would become 2, and these values would become 1. Okay, so similarly, I can do for every event, and at the end, I can find the maximum value in this array. This would be the minimum number of rooms required. Do all of you guys agree to this? That for every event, I am just, so suppose one event is from L to R. Then what I do is I go from A of L till A of R. Okay, and then increment all of these in the value of these indices by a +1. Okay, and then I am just then the final array that I get, I just check what is the maximum element in that array. Is this clear to you guys? Yeah, Shikhar, exactly. Okay, so someone said BS on answer. So actually, it is way easier doing it this way. Okay, so but here you see that currently the time complexity would be, it would be, since the number of events are n, Okay, and in the worst case, my L could be 1 and my R could be 10 to the power 5. Okay, so it would be n into 10 to the power 5, and n is also 10 to the power 5 only. So it would be 10 to the power 10. Okay, so we can't just do it in a brute force approach. Okay, so what we do is, suppose A is my array, then for each interval, what I would do is I would do AL plus equal to 1, and I would do A of R plus 1 minus equal to 1, and I'll do this thing for all of the n events. Okay, and finally I will compute the prefix sum for my array A. Okay, this would actually give me the final array. Okay, so I think all of you guys may already be knowing. So for those of you who don't know, so suppose I want to update some interval L comma R. Okay, so initially let us say all the values are, say, let us say 0. Okay, and suppose this is the Lth position, so I do a plus 1 over here, and this is the Rth position, so I do a minus 1 over here. So if I find the prefix sum, what would be the prefix sum? Be 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 0. Okay, so you know, when you take the prefix sum, then this one's contribution would be here, it would be here, it would be here, it would be here, it would be here. But after R, I don't want this 1 to be propagated further, so I do a minus 1. So its contributors become null and it becomes 0. Okay, so for all such intervals, you just need to update the value at Lth position and the value at R plus 1th position, and finally find the prefix sum. Okay, so and then find the maximum in this prefix sum. Okay, so just give a thumbs up if you guys got the approach. This is also an easy problem only. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. Actually, this problem was asked in Uber in their interviews. Okay, so this is an easy problem. Okay, and not exactly very easy, but it is an easy problem only, similar to the previous problem. Okay, so suppose you have x. Okay, let us say you have infinite number of x. Okay, so infinite or unlimited number of x. So what you are given is there is a building of n floors. So this is floor 1, this is floor 2, this is floor 3. Okay, and finally there is floor n. Okay, and what you need to find is okay, no, that is not egg dropping problem, but like, you can call it egg dropping problem, but it is not the egg dropping dynamic programming problem. Okay, since that is very standard problem, so yeah, a good company like Uber won't ask such a problem straight away. Okay, so find the maximum floor number from which you can drop an egg such that it doesn't break. Okay, so this is a problem. Is the problem clear to you guys what the problem is actually asking? This is not the egg drop puzzle. Okay, so someone already told the answer only. Correct, we are. So see, you are given n floors and you are given infinite amount of x. Okay, and you need to tell what is the maximum floor. Okay, what is the number of that? What is the height? What is that floor with maximum height? Such that if you drop an egg from there, it breaks. Okay, so I got 4 correct answers till now. VR, Sandeep, Atishay, Vijay. So this was the problem asked in Uber. Yeah. Correct, Pawan. Correct, Pawan. Okay. So any other I am expecting answers from also Ayush. Correct. I'm actually expecting answers from some other guys as well. Okay, yeah, correct. Binary search. Okay, so if you see that here it is 1, 2, 3, 4 till n. Okay, so if you check the any position, and suppose this is my mid. Okay, and I check that if egg is breaking from here, then I obviously know that egg would break from here also, it would break here also, it would break here also, it would break here also. So I need to reduce my search space to this part. If egg is not breaking, so this was the case, egg breaks. Okay, and if egg does not break, then what you do, see, if egg does not break over the over mid, then it won't break over here, it won't break over here, it won't break over here, it won't break over here. So I need to reduce my search space to this part. Okay, so you can just apply binary search on answer concept and do it in off login. Okay, so just tell me if the solution is clear to you guys. Okay, now let us solve one more problem. How we know if it, okay, so see, Piyush, I am asking you the solution, like if you want to solve this problem in real life, then how you would do it. Okay, like in the start only I clarified, right? So if you draw a floor from the mid a floor, then you would be able to see, right, that if it broke or not. Okay, so see, this is a problem that you guys may think that you have already solved, but it is slightly different. Okay, this is an, we can say, optimization problem. Okay, so how many of you know about subset sum problem? I just want to know how many of you already know about subset sum problem. This problem is not subset sum problem, it is a optimization over it. Okay, so all of you know about subset sum problem. Okay, see, so some of you may be able to solve this if you know subset sum problem, but it isn't a subset sum problem directly. Okay, so what you are given is, you are given an array n. Okay, and an array of size n, and the name of the array is a. Let me tell you the constraints. So constraints are, n is actually less than equal to 10 to the power 3. Okay, and ai is less than equal to 10 to the power, say, 2. Okay, how would you solve this problem? You are also given an integer k. Okay, and you need to tell whether there is a subset with some k or not. Okay, see the constraint first, then think of a solution. Yeah, Yogesh, we can solve it using that way. But tell me, what would be the time complexity and space complexity for that approach? So Atisha, it won't. Your answer is not correct. Yeah, Shikhar, yeah, Shikhar. K can be at max 10 to the power 5. It is greater than that. Then we obviously can directly say that such a subset won't exist, right? So basic solution is recursion. Can we use frequency array? Yeah, you can use anything. Okay, this is an, consider this as a sort of, so I use is O of n square will not be accepted. So O of n square will be accepted. But can you think of an O of n square solution? So Sandeep says using DP. So how much time and memory will your solution take if you use DP? See, everyone knows this is standard subset sum problem, right? But just try to think of the constraints first. Yeah, Shikhar, correct. If it is not that simple, then why would I ask it, right? Okay, so yeah, it can have duplicate, but don't think of that sort of an optimization. See, Shikhar, see one thing. What is the problem right now? Is will your solution give a TLE? Tell me one thing. Just try to see what the problem with your solution is. Will it give a TLE? Just think this once. Then I think you will be able to get it. What I am trying to say. So Vishal says n square will also work. Like, how are you going to do it in n square? Can you like tell, like, how are you going to do it in n square? Quite a lot of people have said an n square solution would work. So can you guys tell? Okay, so no follow. So we don't actually need follow up for this. So first, just try solving this problem. I haven't got a single solution till now. Okay, so yeah, then we can discuss that. Don't worry. So see, everyone might be thinking that this is just subset sum problem, but what is the problem with our approach? Okay, so everyone knows that we can solve it using dynamic programming. Okay, so we know we would create an array, dp array. Okay, so first position would be index. Okay, so how many values can index have? It could have from values from 0 to n. And second would be for sum. Here try to see what is the maximum sum. The maximum sum in this array could be 10 to the power 5, right? When all of the elements are equal to 10 to the power 2, the maximum sum would be 10 to the power 5. Okay, so here let us say maximum sum is k. So what is the bound on n? It is 10 to the power 3. What is the bound on k? It is 10 to the power 5. Can you guys make an array of size 10 to the power 5? Actually, a very similar problem was asked to me in my interview, that interview bit. So just tell me, are you guys able to understand why just directly applying subset sum problem won't work? Okay, so Yogesh, we know, right, that suppose I am trying to find. Okay, so see, on online judges, the maximum size array that you can create is, you can consider is 10 to the power 6. Okay, there is a space limit also on online judges, not just a time limit. So you can't actually create an array of size 10 to the power 8. Okay, so Yogesh sees this. So how did we actually solve the subset sum problem? So suppose dp of ij tells me whether we can get a sum of j using the first I elements. Okay, so we know dp of ij equal to dp of I minus 1 comma j, or dp of I minus 1 j minus a of I. Okay, so this is the recursive relation, right? If we try to write iterative dp. Okay, so I have written, I am starting from 0th index. So I would start filling my matrix from the topmost corner. Okay, so that is why I am writing I minus 1. Okay, Adisha. So what dp of ij tells me is, if it is possible to get a sum of j using first I elements. Okay, I can write it as using this recursive relation, right? That I have two options, either, yeah, we can use dp here, but see that what we are trying to find is, actually we need to create array, right, for dp. So our array, so what values can this index have? It can have values from 0 to n minus 1, right? So how many values are there? There are n such value. What is the maximum value of n? It is 100, 1000. Okay, now the next thing, we also need to have sum, right? And what is the maximum value of sum? Since we know that n is actually less than 10 to the power 3 and ei is less than equal to 10 to the power 2, what is the maximum sum possible? Sum would be maximum and all of the elements would be 10 to the power 2. And what would that maximum sum be? 10 to the power 3 into 10 to the power 2. So it would be 10 to the power 5. So the size of array is actually 10 to the power 8. And you would get memory limited exceeded. Okay. I hope at least the problem that we are facing from the normal subset sum problem is clear to you guys. Okay, so someone said we can look for sum equal to k by 2. Okay, so 10 to the power 5 by 2 won't make much difference. So even if you do 10 to the power 8 by 2, it is still greater than 10 to the power 7, right? You can't create an array of 10 to the power 7 size also. Shikhar, any idea? Divide array into 2. Okay, so even if we divide array into 2, there would be 500 elements over here. So it would be 500 into 10 to the power 5. No, see, Shikhar, you aren't missing any observation. Okay, see, you know what is the problem over here. Okay, Shikhar, everyone tell me one thing, that if I solve the problem using dynamic programming, will it give a TLE? Because the time is actually 10 to the power 8, right? So will it give a TLE or not? I told you guys that we can do 10 to the power 8 operations in 1 second, right? So it will not give a TLE. But what is the problem with the solution is you would get an MLE, memory limit is exceeded, since your memory 10 to the power 8 amount of memory is being consumed. Okay, so the problem here is you are getting an MLE to try to optimize on space and not on time. Even you, if you have the same solution, it would work, but you need to optimize on the space. Try thinking of a solution now. This solution is not incorrect. This solution is correct. And we can use this to solve the problem. But only drawback is time is fine. 10 to the power 8, it won't give TLE. But it would give MLE because I am using 10 to the power 8 units of memory, right? So try to optimize on space. Keep the recursive relation as it is, but try to optimize on space. So correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so see, let us assume they are 10 to the power 8 operations pass. Okay, so if your code is not very heavy in terms of operation, and if you are not using many modulo or division operations, then 10 to the power 8 is a safe enough bound to assume. So which says we can simply return false when dp of ij greater than k. Okay, so now dp of ij just stores, right, if it is if it is possible to get j as sum of if it is possible to get some j using first I elements. Okay, so it just stores true and false, right? So like I don't think that would help. See this recursive relation once. See, let me give you a hint. The thing that you are thinking, we will use dynamic programming. Definitely we will use dynamic programming because there is no other way to solve this problem. But try to see how you can optimize over the space. The solution that I would be telling you is the same solution, but it is more space optimal than if you directly implement it. Like try to think of it now. I think I have given you even good amount of hint. Okay, so Atishay, yeah, how do you plan to use that? You're on the correct path, but how do you plan to use that? Yeah, we are correct, but how will you use that? Tell me that. And like you get it right. Like how would you use 1D array for this? Okay, so I think enough amount of time has passed and we have a quite a good number of questions to solve. So let me discuss the solution. Okay, so see, this is a very standard, so everybody knows subset sum problem, okay? But since obviously if the company would be good, they won't be directly asking you subset sum problem, okay? They would give you constraints such that your very straightforward solution will give an MLE. Okay, so see one thing. What is dp of ij? So dp of ij means if I consider elements from 1 to I, can I get a sum of j or not? So what option do you have? Either you can consider this element I or you can skip this element I. If you consider this element I, then you would check that if dp of I minus 1, that if in the elements from 1 to I minus 1, can I get a sum of j minus a of I or not? Okay, if this gives a true, then we are good enough. Or we would check that if I don't consider this element I, okay, so can I find the sum j in my array element from 1 to I minus 1 or not? Okay, so if any of these are true, I would write this as true. 1D array follow longest increasing subsequent concept. Okay, so see, though you don't need to think that much. See, like just tell me if this recursive, is this, are you guys like Okay with this recursive relation? Just write a yes or a thumbs up if you guys actually understand this recursive relation. Okay, so see. What the modification that I'd be telling comes from here only. See one thing, that when I'm trying to fill the ith row, okay, when I'm trying to fill the ith row, I only need the I minus 1th row. I don't need the I minus 2th or the I minus 3th or the I minus 4th row. Is this clear to you guys? That when I'm trying to fill the ith row, I don't need I minus 2th, I minus 3th, I minus 4th row. Is this clear to you guys? Okay, so Sandeep, we can't solve this using recursive DB. Okay, so that is the reason that you only need to. So, how would you fill in your DP array? So, suppose this is your DP array matrix. Suppose it was a 2D matrix. Okay, so let us say our indexing is 1 based. Okay, so you know DP of 0 comma 0 would be 0, since if we don't consider any elements, we can get a subset with some 0, right? And then you try to fill the first row, then you try to fill second row, and for second row you would be needing the first row, right? Similarly, for ith row you would be needing the row just previous to it, and not these rows, not these rows. You won't be needing these rows. For the ith row you just need the I minus 1th row. So it is sufficient to keep only 2 cross k elements. Okay, is it clear to you guys? I just need this row and the previous row. So how I can define my array as dp of 2 comma k, and what is k? It is the maximum value of sum, and what is that? It is 10 to the power 5. Is this clear to you guys? This solution with not TLE, since obviously the previous solution was also not TLE, and this is also not MLE. Okay, since the memory use is 10 to the power 5. Okay, so Sandeep, see, in iterative DP, we try to build a solution from base case. So we only know this thing, right? That if I don't consider any element, then I can get a sum of 0, right? Then I try to fill this row. Then I try to fill this row. Okay, so if I'm trying to fill this row, all of these rows would have been filled, right? So I need to, if I'm at I comma j, I need to think in terms of I minus 1 or j minus something. Okay, so that is the reason why I'm writing the recursive relation like that. Okay, so when we would be learning iterative DP, then I think you would be able to understand it. So you can skip this space optimization for now. Okay, but if the normal problem was given, you would be able to solve it. Okay, so let us move to the next problem. Okay, so can you dry run for an example? Okay, so see. Yeah, Sandeep. That is why I told you that iterative DP helps in optimizing normal DP. Okay, so let me take an example. Okay, so suppose this is, let us say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is, let us say, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and let us consider a very small array. Okay, so actually, one. Let us consider only this array. Okay, like actually, it is very bad thing to. So suppose we know. So we are considering one base indexing. So this is element at index 1. This is element at index 2. This is element at index 3. Okay, and like there would be element 4 and 5 also. So we know one thing, that dp of 0 comma 0 would be 1. Does everyone agree with this, that dp of 0 comma 0 would be 1? Okay, since our dp of ij actually means that is it possible to get a sum of j considering the elements from 1 to I minus 1 or not? Okay, so what this means is, if I don't consider any element, then is it possible to get a sum of 0? So yeah, it is possible. The set is empty set. Okay, then I would fill this array of mine. Okay, so assume that you fill this array, like you can do this, right? Yeah, we have to swap array after every iteration. So assume I have filled this array. Okay, then I went to this. Okay, so for calculating any value over here, I just need the value of its previous row. Okay, so I will be having at two arrays. Okay, so let this be first array, let this be second array. So once I have calculated this, I would update my this as my first array. Okay, and then I would try to calculate second array. Okay, so always my second array would be having the dp of I, and my first array would be having dp of I minus 1. Okay, so it would take only o n amount of time, right? O of k amount of time. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you guys. Let us discuss. No, it won't be NQC. What the, so you would do dp of 0 comma 0 as 1. Okay, then you would be writing for int I equal to 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, all of this for j also. And here you would be iterating on sum. Okay, then you would calculate dp over here. Then you would write one more loop. Okay, and then copy the element from dp, so from one array to another. Okay, so it would be O of n into k only. Okay, so like I already told you that the problem should be hard. Okay, see, let us solve this problem. This was asked in Uber's online round. Okay, so it was actually the hardest problem. It may look very easy, but it is hard. Okay, so I also gave you this problem as a homework problem. Okay, so Shikhar, I was actually asked a very similar problem on in my interviews on interview bit. Okay, so like I haven't seen. See, this is one optimization. If I find the problem, I would send you. But I was actually asked this in one of my interviews. Okay. So let us say there are n cities from 1, 2, 3 till n. Okay, and a city I is connected to a city j if GCD of I comma j is actually greater than 1. Okay, so there are n cities and any city I is connected to a city j if GCD of I comma j greater than 1. Okay, and you need to tell, so this would be a sort of graph, right? And between any city I and j there would be an edge if GCD of I comma j is greater than 1. Okay, so you need to tell number of connected components in this graph. Okay, so just tell me if the question is clear to you guys. Okay, so see, repeat the question. Okay, no problem. So suppose n is actually, let us say 10. Oh, so 10 is actually very large. Let us say n is 6. Okay, so here we will have 1, here we would have 2, here we would have 3, here we would have 4, here we would have 5, and here we would have 6. Okay, so are 1 and 2 connected? I would just check if their GCD is greater than 1 or not. Okay, so any number with 1 won't have a GCD greater than 1. Okay, so are 2 and 3 connected? No, their GCD is not greater than 1. 2 and 4 would be connected since their GCD would be 2. Similarly, 2 and 6 would also be connected. Okay, and if you try to check 3, so 3 and 6 would be connected since their GCD is greater than 1. Okay, and I don't think any of the other elements are connected. Okay, so the number of connected components is this is one connected component, this is another connected component, and this is another connected component. Okay, so the number of connected components is actually 3. Okay, so is the question clear to you guys? So I can tell the constraints. Okay, so here comes the surprise. So n is actually less than equal to 10 to the power 5. Okay, n is less than equal to 10 to the power 5. Okay, so now can you guys think of a solution? A type of Floyd version. Like Floyd-Warshall is the shortest path finding algorithm. Like, how would you use it over here? First find. Okay, yeah, you are on the correct path. Okay, so no. Tell the correct complete solution first. Okay, after that, what would you do? Yeah, Shikhar. You can't just brute force in n square and over I comma j and build the graph and do a DFS. Okay, but try to see will the number of edges is the number of edges really bounded by n square or is it bounded by something else? Correct, Atish. You can build the graph using that and then you can apply normal DFS. What would be the time complexity of your solution, Atish? So if array, okay, no, this is not an array. I told you, right? There are n cities. This is I comma j, the cities. There is no array given. Like, is it clear, Shikhar? There is no array given. You are just given cities from 1 to n. And you just check if the city number GCDs is greater than 1, then you would form an edge between them. Is it clear, Shikhar? So Atishay, your building graph logic is correct, but your time complexity for DFS is incorrect. Okay, so after that, what will you do, Vijay? Okay, see, like why would they be given in an form of array, right? They are just numbers from 1 to n. This is what I told, right, over here. There are n cities numbered from 1 to n. Well, so Vijay, what would you do by finding the number of primes less than equal to n? Correct, Adish. Correct, Sandeep. Okay, see, Shikhar, the only input you are given is an integer n. This is the only input. Once you have this input, you already know that there are cities from 1 to n. Okay. This is the only input you are given. Yeah, I'll discuss time complexity, don't worry. So I got two solutions, one from Sandeep, one from Atish, and both of them are correct. So Yogesh, how do you build a graph? You can't build, like how do you build a graph? Tell me that. Once you have the graph, then it is very easy to solve it by just applying DFS. See, the hint over here is try to see which nodes would actually be connected. Don't just blindly go over the brute force approach. Try to see on paper which all nodes would be connected. So suppose I have node 2. Which would be the nodes with which node 2 would be connected? Can you guys write that node? Okay, so see, suppose I am trying to find which all nodes is node 2 connected. Can you guys tell me the nodes that to which node 2 would be connected? Correct. So can you tell what the numbers would be? It would be 2, 4, 6, 8, so on till n. Can you guys tell me to what nodes would node 3 be connected? Okay, so it would be connected with multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9 till, and whatever multiples are there. Similarly, 4, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so try to take some hint from here. So let me tell you the solution. This was actually an easy problem. Total two connected components. No, that is not correct. Okay, so see, 2 would be connected to n by 2 number of elements. 3 would be connected to n by 3 number of elements. Okay, and 4 would be connected to n by 4 number of elements. Okay, 5 would be connected to n by 5 number of elements, and so on. Okay, so you know the number of edges would actually be n by 2 plus n by 3 plus n by 4 plus n by 5, so on. Okay, these would be the number of edges. And if I take out n common, so it would be 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 4 plus 1 by 5 and so on. Okay, and this we know this is bounded by log n. Okay, okay, so the number of edges is max n log n. So if we just iterate on the edges directly, so we can build a graph in n log n. Is this clear to you guys? How can we build a graph in n log n? Okay, then it is a case of simply applying DFS. Space complexity of DFS is actually O of n plus m, where n is no number of nodes and m is number of edges. How many edges are there? N log n. So what is the total time complexity of DFS? O of n plus n log n. So I hope the solution is clear to you guys now. Just give a thumbs up if the solution is clear to you now. I only got two thumbs up. What about the rest of you? Can you tell me what part of it were you not able to get? So I can elaborate over that part. Like if you are not able to get, then you can write it out in the chat. I will try to explain it again. Otherwise, just hit the thumbs up or a yes if you got it. Okay, so Atishay, the time complexity of DFS is actually O of n plus m, right? Where n is number of nodes and m is number of edges. What is the number of edges in our graph? It is n log n, right? And what is the number of nodes? It is n only. So what is time complexity of DFS? It is n plus n log n. Yeah, correct. We are. Okay. So let's solve another problem. Uh, so this is, I think, uh, let us solve. Not a very hard problem, but an okay. So let me give you an easy version first. So how many of you guys know longest increasing subsequence problem? Just give a thumbs up if you guys know this problem. Longest increasing subsequence. Okay, so I think most of you may be knowing. So consider this as your first question, and then I'll add follow-ups to this. Okay, so you are actually given an array. Okay, and you need to tell length of increasing subsequence. Maximum length of increasing subsequence. Okay, so if you want to like see an example, so let us say your array is 10, 20, 1, 30, 45, let us say 15. Okay, so here you can see the longest such array is 10, 20, 30, 45, and its size is 4. Okay, so length of longest increasing subsequence in this array is actually 4. Okay, so is the question clear to you guys? Just give a thumbs up if the question is clear to you guys. Okay, so try solving this problem. I think most of you would be able to solve this. It is an easy problem. Any idea how we can solve this problem? Why can no one solve this problem? I thought everyone would be able to solve this problem. It's actually the first problem to our follow-up question. Yeah, correct. But let us assume n is of the order 10 to the power 3. Okay, so n is of the order 10 to the power 3. Now we can use dp. Okay, so how do we use dp? Suppose we define an array dp, and dp of I represents uh, maximum length of subsequence ending at I. Okay, so you can just update it as for I equal to 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, for j equal to 1, j less than I, j plus plus, if a of I is greater than a of j, then you can do dp of I equal to max of dp of I, comma dp of j plus 1. Is the code clear? If I get dp of I gives me the maximum length of subsequence ending at I, then just I can write for int I equal to 1 I less than blah 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 blah. If ai is actually greater than aj, then dp of I could be maximum of dp of I comma dp of j plus 1. Okay, so y plus 1. See, suppose this is your array. Okay, and you are trying to find the longest increasing subsequence that is ending at this point. So suppose the value here is, let us say, 100. Okay, so you are trying to access the previous element, so previous array whatever elements there are, and this since we are iterating from 1 to n, so if when we are at this position, we as you can assume that you would have calculated these dp values. Okay, so when you are trying to find the value for this position, you already have calculated these values, so you would only consider those values which are having less than 100 in their array. Okay, so you would consider this, you could consider this, you could consider this. Okay, and suppose here the answer is 3. Okay, so there was some subsequence of answer 3. Okay, to get the answer for this, you would just add 1 to the this subsequence, right, Yogesh? Is it clear now, Yogesh? Okay, so I hope all of you guys understand this code. In this, what if question was to return all the longest increasing, like okay, so what is the question was to return all the longest so do you mean the number of longest subsequence? Is that what you mean? So then you would write dp of I equal to dp of I plus dp of j. Okay, okay, so all the lis. Okay, then since you would have to print all of the lis, then I think the only way is recursion. Okay, so the question is obviously not this. The question is, suppose, do you know what biatonic subsequence is? Okay, so a biatonic subsequence, so we know longest increasing subsequence is increasing, decreasing subsequence is decreasing. You need to tell length of longest biatonic subsequence. Okay, so a biatonic subsequence is a subsequence which is first increasing and then decreasing. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Like the definition of so is the definition of biatonic subsequence clear with you guys? It is first increasing and then it is decreasing. Okay, and the question is same. You are given an array and n is less than equal to 10 to the power 3, and you need to tell the length of longest biatonic subsequence. Correct, Shikhar. What about the rest of you guys? Correct, Atishay. Okay, so not exactly two times, but you would have to. You obviously need to calculate two times, but can you elaborate on how you would iterate? Other guys, any idea about how we can solve this? Oh no, not so. Like Atishay, how would you actually be like what all? How why would you calculate Li two times? And like, can you be a bit more elaborative on your solution? Let us see one thing. So this is my array. Okay, and for each position I calculate two things. That is maximum increasing subsequence length ending at I. Okay, this is the same thing that we were calculating previously. So that let this be dp1 of I. Okay, and so the second thing that you are trying to calculate is maximum subsequence length, increasing subsequence. Actually, would it be increasing? It would be actually, yeah, increasing subsequence length or ending at A. So this subsequence would be like this, right? And this subsequence would be like this. So if you try to find like longest increasing subsequence from right, then also you will get an array, right? dp2 of I. Let that array be dp2 of I. Okay, and what your answer is? Your answer would be max of dp1 of I plus dp2 of I minus 1, since this element would be counted twice. Is the solution clear to you guys? First, I am calculating the normal longest increasing subsequence from by going from 1 to n. Then I am finding the longest increasing subsequence by going from n to 1 and store that in my array dp2. Okay, then I traverse the array from 1 to n. I just find the maximum value of this. Yeah, correct, Vijay. Okay, so similarly, slight modification on this. Okay, so can you please? Okay, no problem. See, Yogesh, see one thing. This this monotonic subsequence that I have, it needs to have its peak somewhere, right? What are the possibilities for its peak? Either it could be at first position, or it could be at second position, or third position till n. These are the possibilities for it, right? Now see, I am trying all the possibilities from 1 to n. Okay, see how I try. So suppose I am trying this possibility I. Okay, then I find what is the value of. So I suppose I am trying to calculate longest increasing subsequence by building our same array that we did before. Okay, so we would actually get an integer right over here dp of I, which would tell what is the longest increasing subsequence that is ending at this position from from this side. Okay, and similarly, if you calculate dpo longest increasing subsequence from the right, okay, then you would get one more array. Let that array be dp2 of I. Okay, so what I am saying is, to try all of the possibility, you find the maximum from this side, you find the maximum from this side, and assume that this is the midpoint. Okay, that's it. That this is the mountain. So you just do dp1 of I, dp2 of I. Okay, you add both of them. So suppose here it was 2 and here it was 3. So the length at the ith position is actually 5. Would actually be 4. Okay, since this element would be counted twice, right? So that is why you are doing dp1 of I, dp2 of I minus 1. Is it clear now, Yogesh? Okay. So let us solve another problem. I think, hey Fadil, can you share the links of? Okay, yeah, I can share the link of this question. Let me just check. Let me just send you the link. Maximum length by atomic subsequence. But you can solve this. Okay, so previous problem, what was the previous problem? Okay, so previous problem came in an online round in Uber. So like obviously it is not present anywhere to submit. Okay. So this is the problem that is quite similar to what we just solved. This is not the same problem, but the idea is similar. Okay, so you can just try thinking a solution to this, and try submitting a solution over there as well. Let us come to the next problem. This is an easy peasy problem. All of you would be able to solve it. Okay, so merge two arrays. Okay, so sorted arrays obviously. Okay, so now suppose this is your first array, let us say 1, 10, 20, and your second array is let us say 2, 5, 15. So if you merge them and form an array C, and you need to make an array C, this array C also sorted. So it is 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so this is what your array C would look like. So you need to generate this array C from the two arrays. I think this is an easy problem, but this problem obviously is not our focus. I just want to know if you guys can solve this problem so we can move to the follow-up question. Just write the solution out in the chat. So Atisha, I don't think we need the data structure that you are telling over here. Okay, so someone says let's merge both and sort it at last. Okay, so that is not a very good solution. The solution that we are expecting over here is O of n plus m solution. Assuming length of array A is n and length of array B is m. Correct, Shikhar? Correct, Shandeep. Correct, Vijay. Atishay, why do you need? Okay, so yeah, you can say 3 pointers. Okay. Correct. Okay, so this all everybody knows. So how do we solve this? So suppose this is our first array, and let this be our second array, and we maintain 2 pointers. So suppose it is 1, let us say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Let this be 5, let this be 7, 10, 11, 21, 31, 51. Okay. So see, first we would compare both of these elements, and this is the array C that I am trying to build. Okay, so Yogesh, I am explaining the solution, don't worry. So I see which of the, so suppose this is my pointer I, this is my pointer j. Okay, so I check which of them are smaller. So I see that this is smaller. So I would add this to my array, and I would increment my I pointer and take it over here. Now I would compare both of them. So I see that j is smaller. Okay, so I increment j and j comes over here. Okay, and I add 5 over here. Then I see that again j is smaller, so I again increment j and come over here. Okay, so I come over here. Then I see both of them are equal. Then I can update anyone. So let us say I update I and I go to 20. Okay, so I have added 10 over here. Okay, then I compare between 10 and 20. So I see 20 is smaller. So I add 20 over here and go to increment my j pointer. Okay, then I compare between 11 and 21. So I see that 11 is smaller. So I add 11 to my array. Then once I have added 11, my j pointer would go over here. Then I would compare both of them. So I would see that 20 is smaller. So 20 would be added and so on. Is the solution clear now, Yogesh? Okay. So see, obviously this is not the problem. So problem is you are given an n cross k matrix. Okay. So let me just draw it out. Sorry, it is k cross n matrix. Okay. Yeah, it is follow up. Okay. K cross n matrix. Okay, so this is a of 0, this is a of 1, Okay, and this is A of k minus 1. So consider it like you are given k arrays, okay, in the form of matrix. So, and you need to merge all of these k arrays. Okay, so the question is actually merge k sorted array. Is the question clear to you guys? That is the reason why I made the array k cross n. So, yeah, Disha, correct. Try to think of a solution to this. Nice and easy problem. Correct, Shikhar, correct. What about the rest of the guys? After this, let's solve a graph problem. A nice graph problem. So Yogesh here, let's make k pointers. Cool. So suppose this is my array. Let us say 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let me. Okay, so shift. I think shift. What was the shortcut? I forgot the shortcut. Could have everything. See. So Yogesh, see, suppose my array is like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second array is let us say 20, 30, 40, 50. Third array is and 60. Third array is let us say 13, 12. So let this be one only. Okay, cool. 13, 14, 19, 23, 25. And let this be 31, 38, 41, 100, 150. Okay, then Yogesh. So you suppose there are only four arrays, so you would have one pointer over here, one pointer over here, one pointer over here, one pointer over here. Okay, and suppose there are k arrays now. Okay, and you would need to find the minimum. Okay, you need to find right which is the minimum of all of these elements. First, what you would do is find the minimum element. Then add it to your vector. So let C be the answer where we are storing our result. So then we would add this to C. Okay, then we would increment that pointer. So is the logic clear, Yogesh? What we are doing? Okay, so Yogesh, tell me one thing: how many elements would finally be there in C? There would be n cross k number of elements in C, right? Okay, and for finding each element you would need to traverse like you need to check all of the pointers, the values at all of these pointers, and check which is the minimum value. Okay, so you will need an extra loop of k. Okay, so no, they are not sorted vertically. Okay, so the time complexity would actually be n into k square. Did you get it, Yogesh? Why is the time complexity n into k square? Okay, so this is not a very efficient approach. Okay, so try to think of a more efficient approach of merging these k sorted arrays. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I think this is an easy problem. Okay, like obviously this is an easy problem. Okay, so see, rather than finding the minimum value by iterating all of the uh, iterating over all of the pointers, what we can do is, so suppose this was my first array, let us say 10, 20, 30, 40. Second array, let us say 20, 25, 35, 45, let us say 15, 19, 21, 41. Okay, so see, suppose these were the arrays that I have. So what I did was I stored the starting points in my priority queue. Okay, along with the, so this is array 1, this is array 2, this is array 3. Okay, so I store the values in my heap. Okay, so I will store 10. Okay, and along with 10 I will store what array is it a part of. So it is a part of array 1, and what index is it at? It is an index 0. Then then the next element would be 15. So 15, it is an part of array 3 and it is at index 0. Then I would have 20 and it is a part of array 2 and it is at index 0. Okay, so this is what my heap would look like currently. Then what I would do, I would pop the smallest element from my heap. Okay, so once I have popped the smallest element from my heap, so I can just add it to my vector C, right? So I'd add this element to vector C. Okay, then what I would do is, see, then I need to consider the next element. Okay, so I would go to this array and insert. So how do I know which array this element is a part of? I can know from here, right? How do I know at which index this element is? I can know from here. Okay, so I would just go to this array and go to the next index to 0. So I would insert 20 now. So what would be inserted is 20, and array would be 1 and index would be 1 also. Okay, so if you go on doing this, finally you would get your sorted vector. Is it clear to everyone now? And let us see what is the time complexity. So time complexity would be, we need to add n into k number of elements. Okay, and we are like either popping the front element or we are inserting an element in the heap. Okay, so all of these operations are log of number of elements in the heap. So in a heap, at one point there can be maximum log k elements, right? So the time complexity would be this. Is the time complexity clear to everyone? Okay, let's solve a problem on graph. Like if it is not clear, you can tell. I can like elaborate on the part which you did not get. But if it is clear, we can move to the next problem. Okay. So let us do a problem on, sir, won't be multi-difference. Won't be multi-difference, right? If we add only all the n k. Yeah, it won't be a multi-difference since this factor would be in log only. Yeah, it would impact space. You would be needing n into k amount of space. Okay. Let me tell you the problem. Okay, so let us solve a very nice problem. So this problem was asked in Google for a summer internship program to one of my friends. Okay, and he's a master on code forces, so obviously he was able to solve it, and it is not very hard problem also. And you may have seen this problem, but the follow up you may not have seen. Okay, so you are given an array A. Okay, so let this array be 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, anything. Okay, and size of array can be of the order 10 to the power 5. Okay, and you are given an integer k, and you need to tell, see, by what integer k means is that you can either select one element from left or you can select one element from right. Okay, remove that element, add it to your bag. Okay, so suppose I remove 10, then my array, leftover array is this, right? Then again I have the option to either select element from left or select element from right. So let us say again I take 20, so I add it over here. Okay, so you need to remove exactly k such elements. Okay, and you need to find what is the maximum sum possible. This is the question. First tell me if the question is clear to you guys. This is an easy problem that I think you guys should be able to solve, but the follow-up problem is nice. Correct, Tatisha. The both ends take the that what question needed. Okay, so Sandeep says both. No, we don't need to take the max. We can take either the leftmost or the rightmost element. So Sikha says, I think this can be okay. No, don't try to think of graph. This is actually a very easy problem. Yeah, Vijay, you can do that, but there will be a there would be a okay. Yeah, I think your solution is correct. So I have asked same question to make some k. Okay, you don't need to make some k. You need to remove k elements from either left or right or a combination of both. Okay, you don't need to make some k. You need to maximize sum that you get from these elements. Okay, so like if you want to, so the post 10 was here and 100 was here and 30 was here and 40 was here. Okay, so here you can see that if k is equal to 2, you would take these two elements out. Okay, and suppose let us take one more example. So it was 100, 20, 30, 500. So here if k equal to 2, you would take this element out and this element out. Okay. Now this is actually a very common problem. So without seeing mass, if we take, we can't get maximum summative. Okay, so see, Sandeep, if you consider this case of k equal to 2, then if you run that logic of yours, it would give a wrong answer. Yeah, Vijay, your solution is correct. Optimal game strategy DP. No, this is not DP. This is, oh, see, I told you this is a very simple problem. And if you solve this in DP, like assume n is less than equal to 10 to the power 5 and k is less than equal to 10 to the power 5, then your solution would fail, right, Shekhar? See, don't always try to think in terms of DP. Shekhar, try to think something very simple. Try to observe what the possibilities for answer are. Yeah, greedy approach fails over there. But when choosing from live, we want to know which one. Yeah, correct, Shekhar. But see, try to see what are the possibilities. Once I will tell you the solution, you would feel like this is the easiest problem that you would solve in your life. This is not DP. Try to see what possible combinations can the answer lie in. DP is obviously a very obvious thing that should come in your mind if you have solved the optimal game problem or stone game something problem on lead code. But try to keep it simple and try to like think very in a very simple manner. See, you are like I think most of you were able to solve it. Sir, from total, some remove. Okay, okay. Yes, and we can do that as well. So I got two correct approaches that are very efficient, very optimal. But definitely, I am not expecting a dynamic programming solution to this. And even if you are trying dynamic programming, let me tell you the constraint one. So n is less than equal to 10 to the power 5. So your dynamic programming solution of keeping one pointer at start and another pointer at end would fail. See, this was actually the worst problem asked in his 45-minute interview round. So obviously this has to be easy, right? I am telling you, Shikhar, this is the easiest problem that you would solve. What you are thinking is correct, but that is actually the solution to the follow-up problem. But if you are not able to solve the first problem in the most efficient manner, they won't give you the follow-up problem. Okay, so let me discuss it. Okay, so now you guys would understand this that this was the easiest problem. Okay, so let me wait for 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, cool. Okay, Levin, I think what you are saying is correct, but can you elaborate a little by what do you mean by elements from left, elements from right? Are you only considering the prefix or suffix, or are you considering all of the possibilities? K prefix and K suffix. I'm actually not very sure what you are trying to say, but I think I think your solution is correct, and I think this is what you are trying to say. So suppose this is our array. So this is first element, second element, and this is the nth element. Okay, and suppose you have to take k elements. So first thing that we need to observe over here is we can take a prefix or we can take some element from suffix. These are the only possibilities. Okay, then we try to iterate on the all of the possibilities. So I can take 0 elements from prefix and all of the k elements from suffix, or I can take 1 element from prefix and k minus 1 element from suffix. I can take 2 elements from prefix and take k minus 2 elements from suffix, or I can take all k elements from prefix and 0 elements from suffix. These are the only options that I have. Do all of you guys agree to this? That these are the only options that we have. Okay, so let us try to find how we can find the answer. Okay, so suppose I build a prefix sum array. Okay, let it be p. Okay, and I am trying to consider some case where there are I take I elements from here prefix and k minus I elements from suffix. Okay, so I am trying to check for I. So what would the sum be? It would be p of I. Okay, for the prefix part. Then I need to find the sum of the last k minus I elements. This also I can find, right? Is it clear? Is the solution clear to you guys? Like there are total k possibilities and I can check each possibility in one amount of time by building the prefix array from before. Is the solution clear to everyone? Just write a yes or a thumbs up or anything so I know that it is clear. Yeah, and we take the maximum of all of the possibilities. Okay. So just give a thumbs up if the solution is clear to you guys so we can move to the next problem. Okay, so this is actually a follow-up problem. Yeah, correct. This is actually pretty easy, and the solution that you are actually thinking is a solution for the follow-up problem. Okay, so the follow-up problem is you are apart from the array A, and here the size of the array is less than or equal to 10 to the power 3 actually. Okay, and you are also given an array B of size k. Okay, so B of 0, B of 1 till B of k. Okay, now suppose you took an element, so suppose this is your array A. Okay, and you took an element from here. Okay, so the first element that you take, you need to multiply it with B of 0. The second element that you take, you need to multiply it with B of 1. The third element that you take, you need to multiply it with B of 2 and so on. Okay, and you need to maximize this sum. Is the question clear to everyone? You are given an array A. Okay, so you are given an array A of size 10 to the power 3 max. Okay, the options are same. You can take element from left or right. Okay, so what I am saying is the first element that you take, you need to multiply it with B0. The second element that you take, you need to multiply it with B1. The third element that you take, you need to multiply it with B2. Similarly for all of the further elements. Okay, so you'd be taking k options. That is why an array of size k is given to you. Okay, and you need to multiply them and then find the sum of all of them, and you need to maximize this sum. Is the question clear to you guys? This is actually a hard problem, and this is a follow-up problem, and this is also a nice problem. Since obviously it was asked in Google, so it is of decent enough level. Array B is of size k. Yeah, array B is of size k since you have k number of moves, right? So the first element that you take out, multiply it with B of 0. Okay, so see, okay, I'll repeat it. Okay, so see, Yogesh, you are given an array. So you have understood the previous problem, right? So here, what you are doing is you took some element from left, you took some element from right, then again from right or left. Whatever that you took, you just need to maximize the sum of all of these elements. Okay, previously that was the question. But now the question has slightly changed. You are also given an array B of size k. Okay, the first element that you take, be it the leftmost element or the rightmost element, you need to multiply this element with B of 0. The second element that you take, you need to multiply that element with B of 1. Okay, third element that you take, you need to multiply with B of 2 and so on. Okay, so you actually need to maximize this sum. The first option, take the first option element chosen, multiply with B0. The second element chosen multiply with b1, the third element chosen multiply with it with b2, and so on. So you actually need to maximize this sum. Is it clear now, Yogesh? And Shikhar as well. So this array is of size k. Okay, since we have k number of moves. Okay, so let me give you a test case. Okay, so array, let us say it is like 10, 3, 30, 40, 50. Okay, and let us say let us have some more element. Let this be 10 and let this be 5. Okay, and let us say b is something of 20 minus 10, 20, 30, 11. Okay, and let us say k is 5. Okay, I'm not telling you what is the answer for this, I'm just telling you one possibility. Okay, so suppose I took 20 from here, so I would multiply 20 with the first element, so it would be 20 into 20. Then I, let us say second element that I took is 10, so I multiply 10 with the next option, that is minus 10. Then let us say I took 50, so I would multiply 50 with this element, not this element, right? Okay, so I'd multiply 50 with 20. Okay, then suppose let us say I took 30, so I would multiply 30 with this element. Okay, so whatever choice that I am taking, so I, when I took the first choice I multiply it with this, when I took the second choice I multiply it with this, when I took the third choice I multiply it with this, when I took the fourth choice I multiply it with this, and when I took the fifth choice I multiply it with this. Okay, you need to maximize this sum, you need to tell me what is the maximum possible value of this sum. Is it clear now, everyone? So Atisha, your logic is incorrect. Sorry. Okay, since we don't just multiply ai bi directly, this this element can be multiplied with the last element as well, right? Did you get it? Why, Atisha, your logic is incorrect? Like, if you are not able to get anything for the first 3 to 5 minutes, then it is a good question. Try to see in the previous question. I told you the solution, the value of n is less than equal to 10 to the power 5. Why on earth would I decrease the value of n over a? Am I expecting an ON solution from you guys? Try to see the constraints and analyze a bit. In the interview, constraints would not be even given to you. I have still given you the constraints. So one of my friends, he was interviewing for Google, and he was actually asked an NP problem. Okay, and he wasted the entire 45 minutes in thinking of a linear solution to it, linear or n square or even n cube solution. But the problem was actually NP. Okay, so in the interview, the problem could be anything. First, your first approach should be try to get to a solution which is correct irrespective of the time complexity. So here, suppose I didn't give you this constraint that n is less than 10 to the power 3. Tell me a solution which is of the complexity 2 to the power n. If your solution is close by to what I am expecting, I would. So here, obviously, 2 to the power n is not the solution. No, see, you can ask the constraint, but the interviewer won't tell. So it is the same thing that you are not allowed. Okay, what he would say is try to think of the most efficient solution that you can think of. So this also leaves a bad remark that in the mind of the interviewer that you are able to think of problems only when there are some constraints specified. So no, the interviewer won't tell you what the constraints are, and like I don't think you should ask also what the constraints are. See, try to see, at least I have given you the constraints. I am not as cold-hearted as the interviewer, so at least I gave you the constraints. So I expect a solution since I am way more like soft. Why would I give n less than equal to 10 to the power 3? So an NP problem is a problem which is not solvable in polynomial time. Okay, or a problem that has an exponential solution, like the traveling salesman problem. See, the solution is easy. You guys know the constraint that n is less than equal to 10 to the power 3. So tell me one thing. What kind of so let me give you a hint. What kind of a solution am I expecting? Am I expecting an n factorial solution? Am I expecting a 2 to the power n solution? Am I expecting a O of n square solution? Okay, so this everyone knows that I am expecting an n square solution. Okay, so try to think of it in terms of n square only. But n square doesn't always mean two loops, right? It could be something else, obviously. And obviously, it is something else. Since if it was just two loops, then why would we even be solving this problem? Okay, yeah, so another time complexity came. It could be O of n into k time complexity. This is also nice. So time complexity could be O of n into k also. So now you have two options to choose from, either n square or either n into k. Okay. So, see, Shikhar, if you would have thought as you were thinking in the previous problem, then I think you would have solved this. See, Shikhar, I think you can definitely solve this. The way that you were thinking in the first question, you can solve the second question using the same approach. No, no, no. Take window of k for each interval. No, we can't take window of k. The only thing that you can do is, so let me tell you one solution. So you can find k factorial. You can find all the permutations of k and then solve the previous problem in O of n. Okay, and then find the maximum of it. So your solution would be O of k factorial into n. So this is one solution that I told you about. See, like in the first problem only you were thinking like that. So I thought that you'd be easily able to do the second problem. And does everyone understand this k factorial into n solution? At least I am telling a solution which will always give me the correct answer. Do you guys get it? At least you guys get the k factorial into n solution, right? Yeah, yeah. So I'll generate all of the permutations of these k numbers. Okay, and then I would check in O of n. And my solution would be O of n into k factorial, which is obviously a very not so nice solution. But at least it is correct, unlike the solution that you guys are giving. So now if I tell my interviewer this, at least he would give me a hint in the direction in which I should think. It is a nice problem. How these key okay, so how this key factorial solution will work was, so see, so suppose k is equal to 3. So permutation would be b0, b1, b2. Okay, or it would be b0, b2, b1. Okay, and similarly you can find all. Okay, then you know answer could be some prefix or some suffix. What the difference in the problem in this problem and the previous problem is, here you can multiply any b with any element. It just depends on what number so is this the first step, is this the first element that you are taking, so you would do this. If this is the second step, then you would do this. If this is the third step, then you would do this. Okay, so I think this would also be wrong actually. You would also have to see that this option is actually the first option, or this option is the second option, or this option is actually the third option or not. But at least I told a solution which will work if I do some case work. Like we I think we have been doing this problem for the previous 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And I see at zero solutions to this right now. Correct, Vijay. At least there is someone who is thinking in the right direction. Vijay, can you like tell more about your approach? So at least there is some hope that after spending 10 to 15 minutes, at least one of you was able to think in the right direction. Vijay, elaborate your approach a bit. If you tell this to the interviewer, I am damn sure he would help you to solve the entire problem. See, this is an easy problem. Obviously, it is an easy problem. But only once you know the solution. Permutation would change the order. Yeah, it would change, but see, you can write some if-else blocks and check that. And obviously, I am not expecting an O of k factorial into n solution. It is actually very easy. So I'll give you guys, let us say 3 minutes more. Okay. If you are not able to solve this in 3 minutes, then probably you would not qualify for the next round for the summer internship of Google. Okay. The only person who was able to solve this is Vijay. And do you guys know why was he able to solve it? Any idea how he was able to solve the question? Although his recursive relation may slightly be incorrect, but at least he was very close to the solution. Unlike the rest of us. Okay. So I have got a solution. 1 minute more. If you guys can think of a solution, then good enough. Otherwise, he is the only person who is very, very, very close to the solution. So actually, it's a lame PJ, but see, his name has Vijay, so he is destined to win, right? So that is the reason he solved the problem. A PJ, right? But at least he was able to solve it. Like we have done hundreds and thousands of problems till now, and I think you should be able to solve it. Okay, so let me give you a hint. Can you guys please solve this using dynamic programming? I think it's time I accept my fate. I'll come back again after cooldown period. Correct. Okay. So see, first of all, this is very, very, I think this is the easiest problem that you guys would solve in your life. Okay. So suppose, so obviously, see, you would have 2 pointers. One is I, one would j. Okay. And let us say your function is something like this: f of I, comma j, comma k. Don't tell me that I can obviously find k if I know I and j, right? So I is telling me the start point of the pointer up to which I have taken elements, and j is telling me the pointer from the right up to which I have taken elements. And let us say p is the number of elements that I have taken till now. Okay, so is the meaning of f of ij comma p clear to you guys? So what it would do is, so the option that I have is either I can select this element. If I select this element, what would be my what would my answer be to f of I plus 1 comma j comma p plus 1 plus a of I into b of p. Okay, or the second option that I have, that I can take this element, that the element at jth location. So then my relation would be f of I comma j minus 1 p plus 1 plus a of j into b of p. Okay, and I'll take the maximum of both of them. Okay, and I can like write this recursive function and calculate my answer. I think it is a trivial problem to solve. Okay, so Atishay, what we need is, we need two things, right, to define the problem. First is I need to know to the left how many elements have I considered till now, to the right how many elements I have considered till now, and then I need to know which move am I currently performing. Is it the 0th element that I am selecting? Is it the first element that I am selecting? Is it the second element that I am selecting, and I would multiply. So suppose this is the pth element that I am selecting. So this is the pth move that I am performing. So I would need to multiply with b of p, right? So see, so suppose I am trying to find the answer for f of ij comma p. So either I can take this, take the ith element. If I take the ith element, so what the answer would be? So it would my I would increase to I plus 1. My j would remain the same since my array would be like this now, and the move would be p plus 1, and I can just add the contribution of this element. Okay, then or the next option that I can have is I can take this element, then my array would reduce to this from I to j minus 1, from I to j minus 1. My move, the next move is actually would be p plus 1 at move, right? So I just do aj into bp over here. Okay, and I consider the max of both of these possibilities. So see, whenever you try to when see if you are given some problem in which you try greedy for some time, you try observing things for some time, but you are not able to get anything, then try to think in terms of dynamic programming. And see, actually Shikhar was trying to think something similar, I guess, in the first question only. He was trying to see I and j, and he, instead of adding ai into bp, he would just add ai, or he would just add aj. Okay, so I think Shikhar was also thinking the same thing in the first problem, if I am not wrong. Okay, so this is how you would solve it, and obviously you can memorize the states. Okay, so that is why I was telling that Shikhar was very close to the answer, but yet very far. Okay, and Vijay was almost able to derive this recurrence relation. Okay, so if you know I and j, you can obviously determine p, right? So you don't need to memorize for all of these three things. You can just memorize for I and j only. Okay. So let me, after seeing the solution, I think I should, yeah. So let us solve another problem. I think all of you would be able to solve it. Okay, so suppose, let me see if I have any any more easy problems. Where is my sheet? Okay. Do you guys want to solve a problem on meet in the middle concept? Actually, do you guys know meet in the middle concept? So you mean so Shikhar, you mean you don't know the concept, or you don't want to solve the problem? Okay, I don't know. Okay, then you can actually learn it from the problem itself. Okay, so it is very, so Vijay, Shikhar, you might be knowing about subset generation using binary using uh, subset generation, right? Traversing numbers for, okay, so yeah, we call it bit masking as well. Subset generation, everyone might be knowing, right? So see, don't give a dynamic programming solution over here. I am not asking for a dynamic programming solution. That is the first thing. Okay, so I'll give the constraints only that your dynamic programming solution will fail. Okay, so n is less than equal to 40. Okay, and ai is less than equal to 10 to the power 18. Okay, and you need to tell me if there exists a subset with XOR 0. Is the question clear to everyone? I am given an array n a of size n is less than equal to 10, n is less than equal to 40, ai is less than equal to 10 to the power 18. You need to tell if there exists a subset with XOR 0. Just give a thumbs up if the question statement is clear to you guys. Okay, like don't consider. Atishay, can you elaborate your solution a bit? I am not able to understand how your solution will work. So you are given an array of n integers actually. Okay. So I think you thought that you are given an integer n. Okay, so let me like, yeah, 6 p.m. I'll be taking a doubt session on recursion on Uncode CP. Okay, so let's just finish it quick so we can go there and solve some easy problems there as well. So I actually took around 5 to 6 hours of class today since I was free and I didn't have anything to do. Okay, so that is the reason I am taking 6 classes today. 6 hours of classes today, sorry, not 6 classes. So for those of you who are not able to solve this problem, let me decrease the constraints. Okay, no, see, it may be possible that the elements are not duplicate, right? And still the XOR is 0. It is possible, right, Sikhar? Okay, so suppose n is less than equal to 20 and ai is less than equal to 10 to the power 80. Then how would you solve this problem? Shikhar, did you get it that we can have subset XOR as 0 even if we don't have duplicate elements? Correct, Vijay. Exactly. Okay, it is not bit mass. So Vijay, can you solve this problem? Sir, make two. Yeah, correct. Okay, so I think most of you would be, yeah, just generate all of the subsets. Okay. Here, let me tell you the solution since we don't have much time. Okay, so here you know the time complexity of solution is actually 2 to the power n. Okay, here but 2 to the power n would actually time out. So 2 to the power 20 would be around, what would it be around? It would be around, so whatever it is around, it will pass, it is less than 10 to the power 8. Yeah, it is around 10 to the power 6. Okay, so here it would be 2 to the power 40, so obviously it will not pass. So what you need to do is you need to split this array into parts of size. Let us say the maximum size is 40, so let us say we have an array of size 40. So we took first 20 elements over here and second 20 elements over here. Okay, then we apply subset generation on this, get all of the XOR values. We apply subset generation on this and get all of the XOR values, and then we can do something and get something. This is the hint. Try to solve this problem. Is the solution clear to you guys? So I hope you guys uh, were able to understand. So like, I hope you would be able to solve it now. Okay. So this is all about the question. I hope you enjoyed the session and at least got to learn something or the other. Okay.